Hello, my beautiful souls. My name is Jennifer Walker Zen. I'm here to talk to you guys about a great guest I have on. It's someone who is very knowledgeable about human design. And human design has been around for over 30 years. And her name is Donna. She actually did study with the original creator of human design. So for those of you who don't know what human design is, it's a very accurate system. You know, I'm always into astrology, tarot. I'm always looking for something that numerology, you know, it's very similar to those kinds of things. But it gives you another perspective on your life purpose, how your energy body interacts with others, and you use your birth details to find out what your human design chart is. So it's a very interesting aspect, and it shows how we interact with one another, how people view us and how we view ourselves, and how we can use that dynamic to manifest, to even attract a soulmate. Okay, so it's a very interesting system. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Donna, and yes, definitely, if you like this video, you want me to bring more content on this channel, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments below. All right, my darlings, I hope you enjoy this.
Well, thanks very much, Jennifer, for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm Donna Saul. I have been a student of human design for probably 14 years at this point, and there's just so much in human design. I was thrilled when you invited me, thank you, because I see so many things out there that are not entirely the true human design. So my background is historically a consultant, and I've built companies, I have built organizations, I have built sales organizations, I have used human design to do all of these things. And for now, right, people tend to want to come to me to find out what's wrong with their life. Why are they getting to midlife? Why are they feel like they are on the wrong track? And I always knew, building organizations for so many years, there were so many different kind of assessment tools that I had access to, you know, the traditional Myers-Briggs, Core Map 180, DISC, all of those things served a purpose, and they all did what they were supposed to do, and they were helpful. But I always felt that there was something that was missing in them, because it would tell me, they would tell me how people will behave in a given situation, but it didn't tell me who people were, how they were designed to operate, because never in my life did I think we were these random beings just dropped here on the planet to kind of figure it out for ourselves, even though it looks like that and it feels like that a lot of the times. And so when a friend of mine introduced me to human design and I did my foundation reading, it was life changing. It was absolutely life changing for me, because not only did it show me how I was designed to operate, but how I was conditioned to operate. And conditioning is what has us end up in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. And so after I built my consulting career, I started consulting for smaller companies. And I found that it really made a difference when it got down to smaller companies. And when it gets down to an individual level, it makes even more of a difference. I don't approach it in a traditional analyst's way. I use, obviously, the original foundational system. Um, I don't want to say discovered by Ra, but delivered to Ra. And then he delivered it to the world. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But so I stay with the ancient form of this human design. I don't stray into some of the other things or the other variations of it. But one of the things I also do is I lean heavily on my intuition and my divine guidance, because I think when people come to me for what they need to know, they're not just coming to me to tell me the facts and figures about their personality or about their design or what type they turned out to be on some random survey online. They really need to know, how is this affecting their life and what can they gain from it? And so when I combine the practical of what I'm looking at, because human design is practical and spiritual in many ways, and if I combine that with the person's problem or reason that they're coming to me, and then I sit down with a chart, I see what I see, and then I factor in what they want to know. And then we do a reading, we do an analysis, and it's been really successful. And I'm so blessed to have found the system and to be able to work with these people who come to me wanting readings, to the world, really, because
My chart, what is it based on?
Yeah, I would suggest you go to jovianarchive.com, and that is where you will find a true chart. There are so many variations of the true human design system right now that I personally don't want to deal with them. And I don't feel that they provide the correct information. I don't want to trash those systems because everybody has a reason for creating them, but my belief is with the original system, and I trained with the original people in the original system. So, all of that said, the reason that you want a human design reading is because we run through life, and I have a chart up so we can take a look at this while I'm talking about it. We run through life making all of our decisions based on who we think we are, not who we truly are. If you look at the right side of the chart, there's a personality. If you look at the left side of the chart, there's a design. Personality is who we think we are. It's who we have been conditioned to believe that we are. And so we live our life and we make our decisions and we make our plans and we make our choices based on who we think we are. The left side of the chart, the red, is who we are designed to be in this world. It's how Creator put us here, what He had put us here to do. And people get confused because they think the personality side is who they truly are. It's why they make the wrong choices. It's why they get confused in life. It's why life doesn't work out for them because the people that potentially are coming at them based on a projection of who they are, not on who they are specifically. And so I thought it would be helpful to go through a chart and look and identify what an analyst will look at when they are looking at a chart for someone. For example, let's drop back a minute and let me tell you how human design was discovered. It has some magical and mystical, but it's also based in disciplines of biodynamics, genetics, biochemistry, quantum mechanics, and the Kabbalah and the I Ching and some of the other spiritual mechanisms. Around the mid 80s, there was the explosion of a supernova, which we all know is the death of a star. Neutrinos are moving through our world every minute, every day. It's why at the time of birth and the time that your umbilical cord is cut, that defines what your definition is in life and who you are in life. And every moment we are being fed these neutrinos. When this star exploded for 14 minutes, when this explosion finally reached Earth, we got 3 times the amount of neutrinos. That's the word. I want to say battling through our body or just being absorbed by our body. These neutrinos hold star information. They hold, when people say you're part of the all, you're part of the all. Okay, because these neutrinos are part of the vast galaxy, right? It's how information that we know, we don't know, gets passed down to us through the centuries, through the eons, through days, the weeks. So a man by a different name, he ultimately called himself Ra, um, on an island of Ibiza, had a voice that at that moment when these neutrinos hit Earth, that said to him, "Are you ready to work?" He would describe this experience later as so traumatic, he would rather die than repeat it because for 8 days and 8 nights, this voice possessed his body and basically explained to him how the universe worked. And he held on to this information for probably 14 years because he thought that it was like wishy-washy. People weren't ready for it. He didn't want to be judged for it. And so he held on to it. And then he started to teach it. And the more he started to teach it, the more people started to learn about it. And the more people started to learn about it, the easier life started to become. Because in the end, the reason you want to know who you are and how you're designed to operate is because you can actually live an easier life. You make better choices that put you in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right things. And so when you get to 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, whatever it is, you're right on track because we have in us what's called a magnetic monopole. And that's designed to keep us on a trajectory through our lives. And that's how the universal information that is being passed on to us all of the time locks in on who we are and helps us get where we're going in life. That's a really simplistic way of explaining what this is. But the reason that I love human design so much is because, frankly, I thought I was crazy. For a lot of years, I thought I was losing my mind because What I was listening to, I know now, were people's projections of me, what they thought I was, not who I was. And because of four types, and I'll touch on all of these types, but I'm a projector, okay? A lot of open centers, things get amplified at open centers 200%. So if somebody is throwing something at me, it could be good, it could be bad. I'm going to feel that times 200. Not having any motors, this can be an exhausting experience over time. And it's very easy to get swept into a generator's aura, a manifesting generator's aura, because they are the only sacral beings that we have. And those motors are extremely strong and extremely powerful. And so we've all been, I'll give you an example, a relationship example, right? We've all met that person and boom, right off the bat, it's great. Oh my God, I love this person. This is great. I want to spend time. Then if you look at the design and if you look at the connections in the design, because yes, you can pick a partner using human design. If you look at those connections, there are going to be electromagnetics and there are going to be compromises. And if you can't live with either of those things, you're never going to feel yourself in that relationship. And so over time, you're going to get worn down because what you're doing is you're riding on the energy of this other person. And then when you step away from that energy, you could feel possibly like an anticlimax, right? Like if you had a big event, now it's over, and now you're like, ugh, what now? You can feel like that. It can also create an addiction. So you need that energy, you want that energy, and you keep going after that energy. And so it hypes you up to a point where you may be searching for drama all the time in your life. Either of those extremes aren't you. And so, but how do you know if you're you? How do you know you're you? You don't know because what you're in is other people's auras almost all the time. And all of that information in their aura is now part of you. And so if you don't know who you are and you don't know who you're designed, how you're designed, you don't know who to come back to. So, but there are some exercises you can do, some things that we can talk about that can actually bring you back and help you identify who are you when you wake up in the morning. What is that center? What is that sense of peace that you're looking for during a day so that when you get overwhelmed or you're getting fed things that aren't yours, you can maybe I lock myself in a restroom and I take a couple deep breaths and I remember who I am. And that is the most effective way moving yourself through life on the correct trajectory that you were assigned at birth. And so when we look at these charts, when somebody comes to us for a foundation reading, you can see there are so many elements that we can deal with. I mean, we can deal with the white centers, right? Open centers, highly impressionable. We can look at the colored centers, fixed centers, not at all impressionable, designed to operate in a very fixed, very specific way and can always be called on when you need them. Not so much for those open centers. You can see numbers, right? They're gates. You can see some of them are in black, some of them are in red, and go back to what I said originally, right? Black is who you think you are. Red is who you are. So when somebody comes to you, they go, small little chart, but they might say, oh, you have such a great way of thinking, and you do, but that open center means you are locked into the conditioning that has you always trying to answer questions that aren't your own, always trying to answer questions that really don't matter. And so you lose time and you lose energy and you lose focus and you lose progression and progress because you're locked into things that don't matter in your head. But do you know this? No, you don't, not unless you've had a foundation reading. And once you know it, you don't have to think you're crazy anymore because now you know, oh, not my circus, not my monkeys. Okay. What I have to pay attention to is what is the definition in my chart? And the definition is those red lines and those black lines, and where those red lines meet the colored, I want to call them centers because that's what they're called. Okay. Where they meet look at the brown square, right? Look at the red triangle. That is a channel. Okay. Half of it is you're aware of, half of it you're not aware of. And this is just a general chart for today. It's a manifestor chart. So it has no sacral. It's the square above the brown one at the bottom that is open, which means it does not exist. It doesn't have that big juicy motor. But if you look at the white center at the top, as I said, this person is designed to always think about what doesn't matter. And it can be very confusing and very confusing. I'll leave it at that. You look at the triangle down on the left of it, that person, because it is an open center, would be locked into staying in things too long, staying in relationships, staying in jobs, staying anywhere too long. Everything inside them is screaming, I got to go. and yet they stay because there's always a reason to stay, or at least a manufactured reason to stay. Let's say the red center, little red triangle under the yellow diamond, let's say that's open, right? That person is conditioned always to be proving themselves, proving their worth, proving that they're pretty enough, they're good enough, their job is enough, their relationship is enough, proving, proving, proving. It is exhausting to live that life. And that's if that center is white. It's not. This is defined, so it's a different issue. But these are the things that you can find out in a human design chart that you can't find out anywhere else. And then there are a lot of other things that you can use to supplement your knowledge of human design. Tarot is one, right? Um, you can use Reiki, and you can use journaling, and you
I've also heard, I don't know if this is a misconception, I'd like to clear this up, but I have heard that you can use human design to manifest. If you
oh
know
God,
what
yeah.
your type is, your strategy, you can use it to manifest. So we're looking at a manifester. How would a manifester at this point, how would they use their body type to manifest?
Well, there a manifester doesn't necessarily mean that they manifest all the time. A manifester, way back in the history of human design, they controlled the world, right? So they said how it was going to be, what it was going to be, and then the generators built what they wanted. So a manifester is able to manifest. Their job is to inform, right? That is their strategy and their authority, right? They inform. And so what they have to do to inform is make sure that they understand who they are and the strengths and the weaknesses that they're bringing to the conversation. So we all know that our words create our actions, our thoughts create our words, create our actions, create our destiny, right? And so for a manifester, for any type really, the secret is to respond to your strategy and your authority. So for their strategy, it's to inform. Manifestors hate to inform because it feels like they're being controlled. They have been controlled through the centuries and they resent it still. Okay. Yeah. Again, that trickled down, right, generationally from the neutrino stream. So they end up resisting, they end up not informing. And so an example of that would be I can give you a great example. I'm not a manifester, but I can give you my example. If I were a manifester, I was married for a long period of time. I wanted to make an investment, a financial investment. I had my own money. I had my own job. I did my own thing. And so I made financial investment, a sizable one. Well, when my husband found out, he flipped out because it was something we were supposed to talk about, blah, blah, blah. We were new in the relationship. It happens. So he was very upset that I didn't tell him. And then I had to spend a lot of time fixing the problem that I created, whether or not I thought it was right. I had to fix the problem, right? I had to make him feel better about what I did. And so that is an example of a manifestor not informing because they don't want anyone to control them. And so they resist. So if they follow their strategy and they follow their inner authority, which happens to be emotional solar plexus, and we can talk about that because that rules the planet and the energies of the planet. Um, the you have to manifest using the strategy and authority, and it's any type can do it, any person can do it, but you have to understand what it is and what you're working with. If you don't understand, Jennifer, I know you're a projector like me, right? So our strategy is to wait for the invitation. If we try to keep making things happen, some of them work out, a lot of them don't. And so, and I'm not talking about the dinner stuff. Hey, you want to go to dinner? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who you're in a relationship with, what job you take, how you move forward in certain relationships that are important to you. If you're not invited, you have no place being there. And it's very hard for projectors because we can spend a long time waiting for the big things in life. But you have to trust your strategy and authority. And that's how you manifest the life that you are meant to live and what you are designed to be here to do, which is your incarnation cross. And, I won't speak to that. I know we're going to do a couple of these, so I won't speak to that this time. But
Okay.
that magnetic monopole that's in that diamond in the center of that chart is what is kind of dragging you through life, whether you want to or not. So the question becomes, do you go easy or do you go hard? Going easy is listening to your strategy and authority, which helps you to manifest what you want in life.
Yes, and
Does
Donna's
that answer the
absolutely right.
question?
That's exactly when she read my chart, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, that's exactly, 'cause I'm a person that's like a go-getter. I go out there and I go, but I have found that when there are times when I try to force something, it just doesn't, it fizzles out. right? And that's what she's
Yeah.
saying. She's like, you have to wait for the invitation.
Yeah.
So, like, when I try to force stuff, that's when it's like, no, it's not going to work. But then I'll just hear information from people and they'll kind of lead me into the direction. And then it'll just kind of like, that's like the invite from the universe saying, okay, yeah, that's it. That's what you want to
Mhm.
do. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
for us, the universe kind of just says, "Here's what you wanna do, and here's what you wanna do." So
Yeah.
that's we're almost like the moon, where we're reflecting, uh, energy. So I would
Hmm.
say that that's what our energy is like, our we're being receptive like the moon.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Whereas, a generator, which you could talk about that body type, the generator is like the sun.
Analyst, right? We're going to look at these things. Like we're going to look at the centers, and we're going to look at the definition of the centers. We're going to look at the gates and the circuits and the channels, and what is that saying, right? But in human design, in any kind of an assessment tool, really, and I do consider human design to be an assessment tool, depending on how you're using it. Um, in human design, there are four types, right? Generators, 70% of the population. There are pure generators and there are manifesting generators, and there's a difference between them. Manifesting generators doesn't mean they manifest better. It's not what that is. There are projectors, right? Different kind of a definition. Generators are the only people that have a sacral, and that's the square above the brown box at the bottom. Okay. It's a very, very powerful motor and it rules the world. Okay. And then there are manifestors, which are very rare. They're 7% of the population. Projectors are like 19% of the population. And over time, the manifestors have given up control to the projectors because the projectors and the generators are designed to work like this. We can see them, we understand them, it's not important that a generator know how a projector works, but it's critically important for a projector to know how a generator works. And it comes by design. We just see them, we see the patterns, we see how they work, we see the energetics, we see all of it. And it can make it very uncomfortable for a generator. And then the third type is the manifestor, which we're looking at that chart today. And the fourth type is a reflector, which is maybe manifestor 7% of the population, reflectors probably 2 to 3% of the population. And they are truly people that have to chart their life and their decision by the moon. So they need a 28-day lunar cycle in order to kind of understand what's going on. Their skill is to reflect back to society or their environment. What is that environment, and whether it's healthy or whether it's not healthy? And so that's the overview of the four types. If you want to dive a little deeper, we can talk about generators. So they, again, 70% of the planet. Pure generators tend to want to start a project, finish a project, start a project, finish a project. Manifesting generators want to do everything all at the same time, and they're very good at it. They have a skill set that they are just blessed to have, and they don't understand why the rest of the world can't keep up. The downside of sometimes being a manifesting generator is that you think you can go from A to Z without all of the steps in between. And so they will tend to jump over steps. And in jumping over, they make mistakes and then they have to come back and start again, which does not make them happy. But they have powerful motor, cortisacral. Everybody is drawn to it. It draws, if it's in your aura, it draws you to it. It's almost like one of these things. I equate it to surfing, right? If any of you have surfed, you kind of got to know when to get off that board before you wipe out. And if you don't, you're going to hit the beach and it's going to be painful. So with hanging out in a generator aura, if you are a non-sacral type, which is a projector and a manifestor and a reflector, can it make you exhausted? I mean, it's exciting, it's thrilling, but only for a period of time. And if you live and sleep with a generator or a manifesting generator, and you're any of the non-sacral types, it can be quite challenging because when you wake up in the morning, you are already in their aura. And being in their aura means that you have already taken on their definition. So if you're not careful, you can lose yourself in the process. And again, that's how you end up in the wrong place with the wrong people doing the wrong things, because you're riding on energy that's not yours. And so when you're a projector, again, you're built to guide, right? Generators are built to build. They respond. They have to respond to the right things, going back to the definition in their chart. So if somebody says, look at the brown square that's third down from the top. If somebody says, you're really articulate about things, that's somebody who sees you for who you truly are, because they have a defined throat. They are articulate. They can manifest their things in their life pretty quickly because they know how to say what they need. And, but if they say, look at this chart. Wow, you have a lot of energy, to a projector, for example. You have a lot of energy. You know they don't see you because you're riding on their energy. So that's why, going back to why it's important to understand who you are. And you're not going to understand it looking at Instagram pages or simply running a chart and saying, oh, I'm this, that, and the other thing. It's just better to have the foundation reading and have somebody that you can work with who says, no, that's not who you are. This, because when people come to me, what they're talking about is their conditioning. They're not talking about who they are. They're talking about how to get up from under that conditioning, but they don't know that it's conditioning. They think it's them. And so you can start to think you're crazy, right? When you get to be a reflector, it's such a small percentage of the population, but they're really quite amazing because they will reflect the health of the environment back to you. And so they stay off to the side. They're relatively quiet. They have no motors. They have no definition. They have to have a lunar chart every month of the year, because that's how they're going to know what they're feeling and what's them, because they're going to go through all kinds of variations of a design. If you look at this chart every day, it's going to look different. Well, if you're a reflector and you have no definition, every day you're kind of a different person. So they have to know that that's happening to them so that they don't feel that they're crazy. Really, I just say it quite easily that way, because for myself, having that open head center, that drive to know, to know, to know, and looping through things that weren't important used to make me crazy until I figured out what it was. And then my mantra right now is not my circus, not my monkeys. And so the other things that we look at in this chart, obviously your inner authority, we look at your definition. You know, are you a single definition, or are you a split definition, or are you a quad or a triple? And how that affects you is that if you're a split, if you're single, you know what you know what you know. You're really not looking for anybody else to hook you up in your aura. You just are fairly self-contained and you just can figure it all out on your own for the most part. Sometimes you might want to ask other people their opinion, but sometimes it's just for sport. You know, sometimes because you just know what you know what you know. If you're a split definition, it really depends on how wide that split is. In this chart, the split is it's the square to the dot to the red diamond to the G center, which is holds the magnetic monopole, which charts our direction and gives us a feeling of cohesiveness. And then that is split from the triangle on the right and the root center. So that person does not have access to the information that is contained in that solar plexus and in that root center. And so what they're always going to be doing is looking for a way to hook that up. So they can hook that up through two ways, three ways will hook them up. So they are always going to be looking for the flip side of that channel, of that gate. I'm sorry. So, and without getting into this design too deeply, but so you're one thing, you kind of know you're one thing, but you're always going to be striving. I can't see the gates, but if you look at the red and black line in the lower right triangle and how it connects to the throat center, which is the brown square, next to the full line, you'll see that gate number, and I can't see what it is at the moment, but the flavor of that gate is what this person is always going to be after. They may not know what it is, but their whole conditioning is to find that answer for themselves. That's why when people have a split definition or a triple split or a quad split, I tell them to go out in public and just kind of walk around a mall, walk around a park, walk around someplace where you're in relatively close proximity to other people, so that your auras can connect and you can get an instantaneous hit of a different flavor. Because some of those people that are out in the public are going to hook up those centers for you. And I'm sure you've all had that experience. If you're going out and you're confused about something and maybe you're taking a walk, you might, over the course of that walk, if you've passed enough people, start to think differently about something. And that is how auras work. We also do try to talk about auras, because you alone is one thing, but you in relation to the other person, and this is where you get into connection charts or charts where you can build successful organizations, it's all about that auric connection. That's why any non-sacral type has to be really careful about who they allow in their life and the choices that they make related to that. Because if you allow certain people in your life, and mostly they're generators, but it happens to non-generators too, other types, you are sharing that genetic information all the time. And so when you're with that person, you become the design. You learn it by living it. And then when you get stuck, you go back and you go, okay, what do I need to know now? But I think people jump into this wanting the whole picture. Like they think they're going to have this. It's kind of like they think it's a tarot reading in some respects, but you and I both know that tarot readings are in the moment, in the energies of that moment, right? And how it's what people do with what you give them that will make the difference between where they are and where they're going, right? If
Yes.
they just
Yes.
take the reading and go, oh, okay, thank you, and then think they got it, we both know they don't got it, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing with human design.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. And if you would like a personal reading with Donna, you can go to Moon and Sage's website. I will leave the link in the description box below. And definitely let me know in the comments below what you think about this system, if you've ever heard of it, if you're interested in it. And if you'd like a personal reading with Donna, I'll put the information in the description box below. I love you guys so much. Again, if you guys like it this way, you want me to continue this way, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments below. All right, my darlings, I will be seeing you guys another day or two. Have a great rest of your next couple days, and I will see you guys soon.